actually kind of a banger. I think we'll see a lot more of Kade trying to pass and what Levi does really well, and why Levi's retention is working. Kade is definitely a lot more active in this round in terms of passing. Just like really, Kade style driving through, blast through, which I don't think works for a number of reasons. We can get into those. So Kade, I think he favors a lot of split squat, and he does that kick to strip the hook, which is really important. Later on in the match, you'll see that Levi actually has a really strong hook, and that actually prevents Kade from passing, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, I don't think the blast throughs are going to work on someone like Levi, like your diving Darces and stuff like that. I think they've just seen that so many times that they intuitively know how to ball and kind of ride through it. Kade does this a lot where he uses this left leg to staple and strip this hook because he can't have Levi's hook on this back leg. It's very annoying. But he fails to pass here because Levi has this left foot. All right. If this foot is hooking on Kade's right foot, it makes it really hard for Kade to pass. Like, he actually has a pretty strong position. But he is able to strip this, right? He staples it off with his left foot. Right. So the main frames that he has to deal with now, right? Levi's right limbs are shut off. The main frames that Kade has to deal with is Levi's left hand and Levi's left leg, which I think a lot of people would probably play knee shield, which is, I think, the wrong thing to do, right? You actually want this space to close off. Knee shield, I think if the knee was pointed across as a bar across his Kade's hip, this space would be open, and then that opens you up to like waterfall style passes. But what you see here is he actually has a foot on the hip, right? And his shin is closing off the top pass box. And that's actually how he's able to retain guard, right? Because Kade was unable to delete that top frame. All right, so this is kind of closer to what I was talking about before, where you put your foot down, you keep your knee tight, and you go for like a miyao shrimp style retention, because you definitely need your arms in. I don't like that. You see how Levi throws his hand to the mat and he uses that to turn? I think that actually removes a possible frame from this top quadrant of his body that Kade could have sunk into, right, with his left knee. You'll see. This, right? That I don't like, because now look, there's no frames. There's no frames on this bottom right quadrant for Levi. Yeah, I don't think the blaster is going to work. Right, Levi still trying to get his guard going. I would say he's pretty active, going for underhook de la Hiva, threatening to sweep, and then the inversion into saddle. I think that's a legit attack. I don't think you should not listen to the crowd that's like booing him. And here, Kade kind of in some trouble, right? Because he has complete control over Kade's weight right now. It's very hard to deal with. And he has to just spin out and walk it through. Yeah, okay. That was actually a really good snippet too. Right, so Kade knows that what Levi wants is to throw his weight over. And he uses this frame here, which is very mean. But it basically makes it hard for him to balloon sweep him over top, right? Because he would literally just be pulling Kade's hand into his own throat. Right, so he spins out. And then here, when he extracts the leg, I think he's going to try to far hip pin, right? Pin Levi onto his left hip. Here. And Levi already, this is already programmed in with like Lachlan and Ario Tarek. I don't remember how to say his name. But all their guard retention. Mikey does this too. This is very modern, right? Of like framing your own knee so that your hip doesn't get pinned. Right there. So he's framing to prevent this kind of driving motion and to try to face Kade. Because if you get rolled and you're as the guard player facing the opposite way, you're kind of fucked. Don't love that, right? Look how open this is. Like, every time you extend and kick out, I think it opens up your bottom pass box. Now, does it get a pass off of it? Right. But I don't like increasing those margins of error. Okay, Kade I think he kind of showboats here, right? And he's not scared of this. I think in the gi, this would never happen, right? But Levi going for double double RF control, trying to come up, and they kind of roll through with it. All right, go for underhook Del Hiva again. Yeah, this position sucks, right? Because he's just sprawling on your legs. But remember, when the passer is on both their knees, they lose mobility, right? Like it would actually be really hard for Kade to circle around because he has to get his weight back up and then around, right? And like this is bad, right? This bottom pass box is open. Like he has his foot framed, his right knee is wedging against his knee. Levi has a hard time getting his right knee in, and what's saving him is this top frame. And like, I think this is a prime example of like why I like supine because what does Kade have right now? He has both his hands, right? His left hand can pin this and delete this frame. His right hand can delete this bottom frame. But like, what does he have left? He has no more limbs, right? There's no more limbs to address Levi's left leg or Levi's arm. And so like Kade is forced to basically get back up. And in doing so, I think it opens him up to be regarded, right? Like he just has to reset, which sucks. Nice shin slice. Pins the leg. I am slowly becoming in more in favor of this, right? Because now he doesn't need to use a hand to pin this. It is weird though, because like you could do what Levi's doing here, where you kind of rotate your shin in a way that is weird to stand on, and that could negate this leg pin. But I think it does open you up to more. You have more frames to attack with as the top player. Yeah, I mean the big kicks. I'm not. I just feel like I feel like I'm opening up too much. That I right. This is same thing. Like look how this is just a giant open box. Like this is wide open, right? Okay, here that detail right there. This leg pinning down and he's hooking really hard, right? Which prevents Kade from having any mobility. This is really important, this hook right here. And so you'll see like even as Kade upgrades and he can pin this, and I think if he shifts this knee into this space, he'll occupy it. But it's really annoying to deal with this hook here because it prevents Kade from extracting his right foot, right? And now it's just like, okay, he can eliminate this frame. He eliminated this frame. This left leg is still in play, right? This shin. It's very annoying to deal with. And he can't really flank because of this hook. This hook is what's saving Levi. And it might be worth noting here, like Levi very obviously going for a choi bar right now, right? His left shin is kind of pinning Kade's right shoulder behind the scenes. But this kind of grip, this frame here, and then this behind the elbow, I think he's going for a choi bar, right? Yeah, so you're trying to shift it across. This is the exact grip I use, wrist on wrist, cross wrist. And then here I would actually go down to the elbow. I think you get more purchase on the elbow. Here you might need it to pull down their posture. I know there's like a number of different grips, but he's gonna try to sling this over, I think. And then Kate's just shifting out. Yeah. Right. So again, like Kade able to occupy the space, but he doesn't have control over this far hip, which means Levi can kind of almost invert up onto his shoulder and use this left shin as a frame, right? And change the position so that it gets really difficult to deal with. And this is actually probably the worst that I've seen, right? Like this is really bad. Uh Kade has successfully gone for like a thigh drag almost on the far side, and Levi kind of just hanging on. And getting stacked absolutely sucks. This sucks. I think where north south passing is actually kind of hard is you can't just like blast through. I don't think against a good guard player that you could just shove your head in and get a pass that way. I think you still have to delete frames, and we don't really see that, right? Like Levi can still get his left leg inside. It might be tough because he's clinging onto his arm, he's clinging onto his leg, and like Kade feels like he needs to be heavy to not get swept or get Levi to have Levi scooch under him. So it's kind of tough, but he ends up regarding because of that. Right, that's good. This swipe off the leg I think is the correct answer for when they frame your shoulder or your hip. And now you see this foot is no longer on the hip. It's not like the beginning of the round where Levi could actually create space because he has that frame on the hip. Now he's has to, right? Like if you're the bottom player here, you will instinctively feel like, oh shit, I have to do a knee shield because I don't have a foot frame on the hip. Right, K getting nasty with it, and then disengages. But I feel like that's not actually this is not awful for Cade actually, right? Like he beat the bottom two legs and this one, like he's pretty close, and the last one is really just this arm frame, right? I'm sure there might be ways to like waterfall pass over the top, um, where you go like almost like Joseph Chen camping style, where your shoulders come really down and then your hips come up, but I don't think I've seen that necessarily from Cade. I think he usually just blasts through with all his weight and heavy, heavy, heavy hips. Right, nothing crazy. A bolo threat, he strips the hook, goes back in, trying to get K guard. So again, like this is tough, right? Like like he doesn't have the K hook because it's been stripped, and then he's still throwing his matrix hook over. I'm not in love with this. I think it's tough. I think it's definitely flexibility based. Um, but I would like there's no frames. Like that's my main worry here. And that's the end of the round.